Hey everybody, it's Ryan from Pi Records, and I'm here with the Phantomatics. How you doing, guys?
Good. How are you?
Good. To start off, let's introduce yourselves and tell us what you play.
So I'm David. I play guitar.
I'm Joe, and I play the drums.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We have a bass player, but we're like in between bass players all the time. So really, the two of us are the core of the band at this point. So
Okay. Okay. I was listening to She Left Her Brain at the Drive-In. And that song, that EP is great, but that song in particular starts off really kind of doo-wop-ish, and I totally dig it. And I think, well, the rest of the song kind of picks up, but that was a beauty way to start that one off. You want to talk about your inspiration for that song?
Real quick, one of the things I love about playing that song live was that it did have that slower kind of doo-wop intro, like you said. So it would kind of psych people out into thinking it was going to be maybe like a slower song. I mean, often I would see people like maybe even get up to like possibly go dance, and then the count, and it just kind of blows everybody back. And I always thought that was really fun, and really it was an attention getter for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, I mean, it was definitely. I mean, obviously, being a surf band, a lot of our inspirations are '60s, and I always just kind of had this idea. I'm like, if we ever did a video for one of these, I think it'd be really cool if we did it and we did this setting, and let's write a song where we started like in a '50s style. If we were ever to do a video, maybe we'll do it like in a gym with a dance, with the towards the end of the song, or somebody becoming monsters or zombies, and then it's just like a dance or a monster dance. I'm like, I think that'd be really cool. So that was kind of the inspiration for that. Obviously, the title of the song, She Left Her Brain at the Drive-In, very vintage retro. So I think it just brought the thing full circle to have that intro. And yeah, like Joe said, it's always a fun way to start a song. It's usually like in the middle of our set, so I feel like the first 4 or 5 songs usually really bring up the energy. And then, like Joe said, this one kind of psychs people out into, okay, they're going to slow it down a little bit. But no, it never does.
And that was totally how it comes in the middle of the EP as well, which is kind of what threw me. It grabbed my attention right away. So it really works. But you guys are pretty aggressive sounding in your attack on your instruments. Where does that come from?
I've always been into punk music. I feel like a lot of the guys in surf came from punk, and that's always just been my thing. I always listen to a lot of rockabilly, punk, so it's always been more of an appeal that way. I guess real huge inspiration, if it's not already obvious, Ghastly Ones were a huge influence on starting the band. So it was kind of like, okay, well, I want to sound like Garrett, but let's do it like turn it up, make it a little dirtier, a little grittier, and a little gnarlier.
On my end, I'm a metalhead at heart, so and I wasn't a drummer before this band. So when I got the opportunity to play drums, in my head, I was like this big rock star playing these heavy drums. So I had to keep up that pace in my little head, even though it's really that heavy. For me, it did feel that way. So the speed, the pace, and the intensity of it was very much in my little heavy metal heart. My little black heart.
That's awesome. So that came out in 2011. What have you guys been doing that sparked you to get back into it? What have you been doing since 2011?
I mean, nothing really. We gig a lot locally, so we would play around around Texas in general. There's a Tiki bar in Houston, Lalo. They would always ask us to come out for their anniversary parties, so we do that. I will say I'm really bad at leading a band because I guess it kind of comes and goes with my inspiration. If I'm really into it right now, then yeah, let's do it. Let's do a bunch of shows. We'll play a bunch of shows, book a bunch of gigs, and then when it kind of slows down, because I'm also in school, So when I start getting busy with school, I'm like, all right, let's kind of wind this down. So, but and one of the reasons that it's hard to say, well, we're not going to do the Phantomatics anymore, is because we're consistently getting streams, we're consistently getting people playing us on radio shows. I just got a notification last weekend, somebody played us on their radio show, I think out of Spain. I forget the name of the show. So I mean, there's still, people are still discovering it, people are still finding it, people are still enjoying it. So it's, we may not be the most active, but we, once COVID is done, we will try to get back out there. We're in the pre-production to a follow-up EP. I figure maybe once every 10 years, I think we're good for 5 or 6 songs. So yeah, so we are hoping to have something out closer to Halloween, at least a 4 or 5 track EP, something to follow up.
You think it'll be Halloween themed?
Possibly. One of the songs is called Vaya con Diablo, so it's
Yeah,
it'll definitely have some spook in there. So a few new songs and possibly re-recording a couple from She Left Her Brain at the Drive-In, because I was just done in such a rush, and we recorded it in friends' apartments wherever we could, people tracking in rooms that were not suited to track instruments. So maybe redo a couple of those a little better quality.
It's interesting because I listened to it and I don't get that impression at all. I get the impression that it was done really well. Perhaps the mastering had something to do with that, but I would never be able to tell that. It sounds really, really well done.
Thank you. And I get that a lot from a lot of people. Are like, that just sounds really lo-fi and kind of garagey and trash. I'm like,
yeah,
great. I'm glad you did that, because that was not our intention. It just was not recorded very well. But no, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, definitely something still along those lines, because that, at the heart of it, that's what the Phantomatics is. We're a garagey, trashy surf band. With a little spooky element thrown in. So it's always we're always gonna make an attempt to make it sound like that, just hopefully with a little more production value.
And that is kind of a good sign of what we are live too, because live we are very much that kind of energy. Nothing is that polished. We're not clean. We very much feed off of that particular night. So that does really play into how we are live. We might, if you see us 3 times in a row, we're probably gonna be different every time.
For sure.
Awesome. There was one thing I noticed when you say garagey, there's and forgive me, I can't remember the name of the song, where there's a real distorted bass, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. You guys kind of just pulled that one out and just threw it in there, and I was kind of like, that was totally awesome. So you guys have stuff like that in the music. Are you planning a couple of twists and turns on the new stuff like that?
Yeah, sure. There's always different kinds of elements. Being from South Texas, we have such different kinds of influences, and I think that's what's great about Joe. Joe is super into metal, so he'll throw in something that is going to be a little more influential from him. I am probably the more traditional surf guy. That's not all I listen to, but we'll definitely try and bring some traditional surf elements. But yeah, twists and turns for sure. The bass has always been one of the gnarliest parts, and I think that's what a lot of people respond to, is just that really heavy, driving, fuzzy bass that it's just so spitty and raspy that, yeah, it's like you said, it's an attention getter, and that's what we like. We like twists that are going to get people's attention, that are going to catch them off guard. So definitely like to do that in our music.
It doesn't seem forced either. It seems like it's a very natural thing for you guys.
I think it's a lot of it has to do that we've been very lucky to have had some really good bass players, get in and out of our band. All of them have brought their own element in, but they've all been very good musicians. And the combination of us 3, whoever that bass player might be, always brings in like a fresh feel to the song, to the set, to the way we play together. And like I said, we've been lucky that all of them have been able to bring something new to our core group. And so that did influence us a lot as far as sound, the feel, even sometimes the speed of a song. This song might feel a little bit better if we slow it down with this particular bass player or speed it up with this one. That's why you can really hear that. Like I said, when you see us live, you can really hear that influence.
Definitely. And to piggyback on that, I mean, they do bring in their own influence, but I think they also have an appreciation for the way the songs were written and recorded. So they put their own spin on it, but they try and keep it to, you know, maybe one bass player's overdrive isn't as heavy or isn't as gnarly on some parts, but they still do it because they know that's a key element to the song. They recognize that that is a fundamental part of the music. So, yeah.
Awesome. So I found you guys on Facebook and Instagram, and I want to know how you've been kind of ramping up people to get ready for your new music. What sort of things have you been announcing that maybe I haven't caught?
So this is the first announcement that we're coming out with a new EP. So we thought it'd be a cool thing to share with you guys with this podcast that, yeah, we are working on the new record or in pre-production of that. I have the Facebook, the socials haven't really been active because there just hasn't been a whole lot to share. I feel like at a certain point, I'm just resharing a lot of the same stuff, sharing memories, sharing things that we've posted in the past. But once we start getting into the recording process, we'll definitely be a lot more active. I think that's one of the great things about social media is you can bring people into the studio with you and let them see what's going on, where you're at. So, I mean, yeah, be doing all of that. I'm sure we'll definitely do Instagram Live. We would do that all the time when we were practicing. We would go Instagram Live and, you know, just bring people in. You want to listen to us for a bit? Cool. You want to dip? That's great too. We'll here just, yeah. So, I mean, we'll do all that stuff. I love social media. I think it's one of the best and worst things in the world. So we'll do a lot.
Yeah. So well, before I forget, I want to know what you're going to school for.
I'm going to school for criminal justice, so I'll be graduating in like 4 weeks, and that's also what. Yeah, thanks. That's also kind of what's been bringing this back into. Okay, now that this has been such a large time suck for the last 4 years. Now I'm going to have free time. And I'm like, what can I fill my time with? So I also host a podcast. Me and my wife travel a lot when we're not in the COVID times. So those things have also been things that not necessarily getting in the way, but have pulled some focus from the band. Now that I've got school out of the way, okay, let's jump right in. We're going to start tracking hopefully this summer and get everything ready to go.
What's your podcast called?
Maroon, the Texas Tiki podcast.
Oh, awesome. So I want to guess it might have something to do with the music scene down there.
It's actually, so it started with just, you know, there's a really growing Tiki scene, Tiki community in Texas. And I feel like, you know, California is the Tiki capital of the world. And that's where all the focus goes. So I wanted to, you know, we have a bunch of great artists in the South Texas area that I wanted to bring out and tell people about, get a little more exposure if I can do that. So that's how it started. Now it's, I guess, Texas Tiki is not necessarily the main focus. When we're traveling, I like to do podcasts with different people. Done them in Kansas City. There's a Tiki bar there. Tiki Cat did one with the owner there. Frankie's Tiki Room in Vegas, done podcasts there. So all over now.
And I've heard a little bit about South Texas. You have a Titus Media Records down there, and you have a lot of different surf type bands down there. Between Austin and Dallas and Corpus Christi, do you find you guys travel amongst the same circles?
For sure, yeah. Even though there is a very good rockabilly surf scene here, it is a pretty tight group because you start seeing the same people at all the shows. So we've met some really, really great guys, really good bands, and we all just kind of became like the circle, if you would. You know, and then especially with him being so involved with the Tiki community, those people are also, you know, very involved with the music scene as far as rockabilly or, you know, surf music, even like just garage and even punk rock. A lot of those same circles, you know, intermingle there. So it is a pretty tight scene. We've been out of it for a little bit now, but I know for sure once we get back in, it's going to be like we never miss a step.
So you guys,
100%.
you guys have been working hard during the COVID break to get this new album up and running. Who's going to be putting it out?
We'll probably just do it independently. The first one was with Deep Eddy out of Austin. I don't know. I haven't talked to Ted in a while. If they're interested in helping us put it out, I'm more than happy to have them work with us. But yeah, I think at this point, the plan is just to do an independent release, do it through Bandcamp on our own. And yeah, it's predominantly going to be digital. If, we start seeing that there's a want for, other media types, vinyl, if people want that, then we'll look into doing that. But I mean, it's just going to be a big digital push once it does drop.
Keep in contact with me and let me know when that comes out, because I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, definitely.
I spoke to somebody this morning, and one of the things that it interests me is the offshoots of surf and instro music. You have your lounge, your Tiki, you have your exotica. What is it about Tiki that makes it so unique, and how did you become a member of its community? What drew you in?
I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say it's a certain amount of rum that was always going to be, we're cocktails. Yeah, there's just a vibe to it. They used to do Tiki Tuesdays all the time, Tiki Thursdays here in San Antonio. We don't have any full-blown Tiki bars, so we would do things like that, my wife and I. And then we went to Frankie's in Las Vegas, and it's like, that's what, finally I get it. Being in a full-blown Tiki bar that's super dark and the cocktails are very boozy and very great. It just kind of finally made sense, kind of put all the puzzle pieces together. And then, just started branching out, finding other bars that we could visit, planning our travel around going to these bars. And yeah, I mean, it's just a bunch of cool people, meet people from all over the country, made friends all over the place, just even through Instagram, talking to people that will meet up with us at bars whenever we visit different scenes. Making friends with bartenders. I'm huge into cocktails, make cocktails at home all the time. So making friends with the bartenders at the places we go to, it's just, there's so many cool people to meet, and it's just a great scene. Who can be upset rocking an Aloha shirt?
So what would you say is the biggest difference between the Tiki sound and your sound?
I mean, I guess if you're gonna just do an all-encompassing kind of Tiki sound, I mean, Exotica is definitely a huge kind of orchestra style music. You have a different kind of vibe, certain Latin aspects, Polynesian instruments, that sort of thing. Phantomatics are not that. And to be honest, I'm the kind of Tiki purist where it depends on the bar, but I don't think surf music has a place in all Tiki bars. But for some reason, people just associate the two together, and I'm more than happy to play at any Tiki bar. If they want us, hey, we'll be there. But like I said, it's just listening to like Ghastly Ones, the Bomboras, Satan's Pilgrims, all those bands were very influential. Like I always say, I mean, when I was a kid, Sandlot came out. I heard Wipeout for the first time, and it blew my mind. I had never heard anything like it. And then once I got older, and I was like, wait, you can actually be like a band that does this, not just do like one song. And learning more about surf, hearing more modern surf bands, Aqua Lads are one of the very first surf bands that I heard. I'm like, but this is just a whole record of just this kind of surf music. No lyrics, nothing. It's guitars and reverb. And I was just immediately hooked. I was like, there's nothing like this in San Antonio at this time. There was one band called the Sandworms. They were really cool, but they were a little more like gothic 80s kind of new wave surf. And they were great. They had an awesome sound. People around town loved them. There was King Pelican, who's also very huge, but they're very much more traditional surf, very much, Ventures style. They were doing a lot of, the Dick Dale stuff. Great band, amazing musicians. All their originals that they put out are phenomenal. So I just wanted to do something different, like let's do something spooky. It was around Halloween time. I was like, it'd be really cool if we could do like a band where we just predominantly play Halloween. And for the first like 5 or 6 years, we would be booked solid for October. Like, good luck doing anything on a Friday or Saturday night during October, because we were doing some nights we're doing 2
I
shows.
was about to say sometimes two
We
shows a
double
night.
booked and we just booked solid. People dig it. We'd bring lights. We're not the greatest as far as like a stage setup, but we get black lights, we get green lights, just whatever we could just to get the vibe going. And I think people will respond to that. We'd go to these places and the sound guys and stage techs, they'd see what we're bringing. They're like, okay, well, let's go get the fog machines. That's gonna look cool, and they would just add to it. There's just a vibe that we would play loud, we play aggressive, and there were so many times where we'd be playing live that the sound guys would just cut off the mic on my amp because I'm just playing so loud. We're just gonna play at stage volume because we can. So why not?
You're too loud. You're always too loud.
No,
You're too loud right now.
There's no such thing.
What are you playing through that makes it so loud?
I play through a 1966 Bandmaster with a 212 cab, so it's about 45 watts all tube. The speakers are like 85 watts, so it definitely pushes some air.
Yeah, the tubes give it the push, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, and then the louder you get, the gnarlier it sounds. So
Yeah,
that's all part of this. It's all part of the Phantomatics tone.
What speaking of tone, what guitars do you use? Do you prefer?
I only play Fender Jazzmasters. I've tried Jags. They're okay. I've done a couple shows with them, but I don't know. It just doesn't have the same feel. I had a Mosrite for a while. That was really cool. I loved it. Again, huge fan of the Ghastly one. So I was like, well, let's get a Mosrite too. But Jazzmasters just have the longer scale length. They just feel a little beefier for me. And I like it. It feels like I can beat the shit out of it and it's not gonna fall apart.
Thick necks on those.
Yeah. Thick necks, heavy strings, all that stuff.
So I'm interested in hearing a little bit more about the drums because I'm a huge metal fan. Anything from AC/DC to Behemoth, I'll listen to it all. As you also said, punk rock it plays a part of it. But where do you get your aggressive nature? Which band could you point to and say, oh, that's the guy that made me want to do it?
Oh man, so I do have not only a particular band, but I want to say I remember the particular album too, and that's Arise from Sepultura.
Yeah,
thrash metal band. That dude, he's got like these great like Latin fills where it almost sounds like he's playing timbales, but it's just his toms. Yeah. In fact, our opener for our set a lot of times I'll start off kind of like that kind of tom roll. And of course I couldn't do it like him because like I said, I wasn't a drummer before this band, but I tried what I thought sounded kind of like it. And it just kind of became our intro. Like that's always been how we start our sets. And then going back to him playing too loud all the time. I used to play a small, jazz kit, 18-inch bass drum, small toms, because that's what I was seeing the other surf drummers play. And then I was like, hey, but nobody can hear me because this guy's, blessed ears. So then I went from that to a 26-inch bass drum and, like big old toms, 14 and 16 toms, big old cymbals. And that was another part of why I loved playing live, because we would go set up and you could see people's face like, whoa, like that bass drum you're gonna feel that bass drum. And sure enough, that first kick to do the sound check, you could feel it all over the room.
That's one of the best things. You hear them as they turn up the mic.
Yeah, you can really feel that bass drum. And that goes back to, like Sepultura and, Vinnie Paul from Pantera. And, I love death metal too. And like, I always wanted that aggressive drum sound. And what better way to do it than get stupidly gigantic drums?
Yeah.
Trash can.
Igor's insane, man. Igor's insane.
Igor, yeah, I love Igor. And again, that's time to experiment with setups too. Every time we would gig, I would set up a little different to see where I could feel more comfortable, get a little bit faster. get a little bit tighter. And it got to the point where we were playing these dark clubs and I could literally like set up in the dark and not even see, or just improvise. Like, you know what, tonight feels like I'm just gonna need this crash and this ride. You know, I'm not gonna need anything else because the way the room was or how we were feeling
or how big the stage
or
is,
how big the stage,
or
or
how small it is.
or big the stage was. I mean, we fit anywhere from the flatbed of a truck, you know, to opening up for Dick Dale like in an actual like professional setup. The pen every night was like, this is my setup tonight. But the feeling and the intensity were always the same.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a good point you brought up when you say you improvise. Being a three-piece, I would say there's a little bit more room for the guitar to breathe. How much improvisation do you say you take for yourself on a given night?
Well, like Joe was saying, you could see us 3 times in a row and it's going to sound different every time. No 2 solos I've ever played have ever been the same, I don't think. You know, one of the things that I really enjoy about playing in this band, especially for as long as we've been playing together, is that we can just, it's all, you know, eye contact, visual cues. I'll just go, and as soon as I, you know, give them the nod, they know that we're going right back into it. Death Waltz is a huge improvisational song. That solo can be a minute, can be 5 minutes, just however much I'm feeding off what the people are giving us. And I think that's always been one of the big things about this band, is that we're very much, yeah, we give it our all, no matter who's in the audience. But if people are giving it back, then it's just going to make the show even better.
Which can be challenging sometimes.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we really, you know, I've never been the kind to, you know, be so particular about like the monitors or anything like that. Like I'm feeding off of what he's doing and what he's playing. So it can be challenging if, you know, that eye contact can't be made, or maybe I'm not hearing very well on what's going on with the rest of the guys. It's really going to be like pure instinct, you know, when I kind of know when he's going to ramp them down, and that's when I know I need to get back in the pocket. So it can be challenging, but it's always been hella fun. And even if we mess up, no one
nobody cares. It's
only the 2 wives know that we messed up. You know, they're the ones that are the most. Yeah. So they know when we mess up, but nobody else. Yeah, it's fine.
That's an impressive thing to watch. I went to a lot of jazz clubs in Philly, and I was always impressed because it's all just free form, and to hear that you guys do that is very cool to me. That you can jam as a surf band with the jazz mentality. Would you say that's the case?
I think to a certain extent. I mean, the songs are all very structured. You know, there's intro, verse, chorus, and then bridge or solo. And it's those solos, those bridges, those extended parts where we can, you know, have a little more room to do what we want. If, you know, the bass player's feeling it, you know, maybe that bass solo is going to go a little bit longer, and I'm cool with it. I'll figure out when we're going to come back in. Like I said, we've been doing this long enough. I feel like we've got a pretty good sense of, you know, when they're going to ramp up, ramp down, when I'm going to do it. Joe, if he wants to, you know,
do a 10-minute drum solo.
Yeah. If he wants to, you know, the Zeppelin solo, you know, the John Bonham or the Neil Peart, whatever. Yeah.
But also we kind of throw in some kind of like silly things sometimes too, with our outros or intros. And so we kind of feel the crowd out also. Like there's a certain song that, you know, we finish out the song, but then we go into Rock Lobster just for fun. But if, you know, if the crowd's not it, or like if maybe, you know, the set's running a little long, or you know, for whatever reason, we know that, you know, we know that look, like, okay, let's just go into the next song.
Yeah.
But if we are feeling it, okay, Rock Lobster, hit them with it. And like it's always like a you know, test, you know, it's always a hit when you throw that fun stuff in there. Kind of brings people back into paying attention. But
you play the whole song.
You know, we kind of we'll just do like a small little snippet, and then we'll do the outro to our song again, and then finish it maybe.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's, like Joe said, I think it's a good feeler. Like if the crowd's not into it, cool. Let's just play the songs and get them over with. Not to rush the set, but let's just play the songs and do our time. But then there's times where I'm like, you know what? They're not feeling it, but let's do it anyway.
Let's do it anyway.
And you know what? But maybe that's what brings them back in. Maybe that's what gets their attention. Because I've always like I said before, I've always been about the attention getting as far as playing the music. So there we have a lot of starts and stops, and then we have a lot of parts where everybody else drops out, and I kick on a boost or an overdrive, and then it's just the guitar and or it's just feedback. And we do a lot of things like that. We take a lot of liberties with the music. It's not going to sound like the record does every single time, but I think that's cool because it's never the same twice.
Yep.
Yeah, totally. I don't. There's a one artist in particular. I may be stepping out of line here, but Morrissey always had a great band behind him. And depending on what tour you see him on, there might be a completely different arrangement. Is that kind of like what you guys are naturally going for?
To an extent, yeah. I mean, I don't think it's ever really been a conscious thing that we're like, okay, well, every show that we're gonna do, we're just gonna play it different. I think it's just the vibe, and I think that it again, it all comes back to what the crowd's giving us, how we're feeling. You know, maybe one of us is having an off night. You know what? I'm not feeling it. I just want to play, and we're not gonna do any of our goofiness that we do, our in between banter. But then it's just such a freedom not playing in like a more structured band. There's a perfect example. There was one show we did where there was maybe like 5 or 6 people in the bar. You know, it's whatever. I don't care. So in between songs, I'm hopping off the stage, sitting at tables, playing guitar, just talking to people, like in the middle of a song. Like out of the crowd and sit at people's tables, and when you could do that. And yeah, just doing things like that. There was one show where I don't think there was anybody in the bar. We played with Say Revenge.
It was just us and the other band.
And we both like hour-and-a-half sets. We just bullshitted. You know what? They want to do another song, go for it. Everybody left their stuff set up. You want to do a song right now? Go for it. We'll do a song later. And I think that was just, in terms of just pure playing music, I think that was one of the most fun times I've had.
But in speaking to that though, I feel that there's been shows too where, and this speaks to David's songwriting, where maybe the set's not going so great and the crowd's maybe halfway into it, but there's always that riff or that part or that pause and resuming of the song that does capture somebody, and just that one person, it does make a difference, at least to me when I'm up there playing. And I can remember this one night. It was a small place. We had a good crowd. We finished our set, and one guy was asking for one more song. Like one guy was super excited about hearing one more song from us, but we had no more songs.
Man. That was like one of our first shows. Yeah.
We had, that was it. And David was like, we don't have any more songs. And the guy was like, screw it, play that last one again. That song back to back. And on the second time around, people knew the riff. Like people knew when we were going to stop and start again.
Well, that dude counted us in. It was
counted us in.
It was Good, the Bad, and the Mummy. We played it again. And yeah, the dude counted us in.
Yeah,
we did the intro and then he counted us in.
It was just like that cool. I mean, it only took that one reaction to really bring everybody back. And like I said, people knew when we were going to start and stop. And then at the end of it, everybody was clapping and screaming. And then we finally, ended the set after playing that song twice.
See, but that makes it all worthwhile, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Just that one person could turn it all around.
Yes. Always, yeah. And I mean, I will say I've never been the most musician-y type musician. I'm not like, oh, I just got to reach that one person. I got to touch somebody and I got to, hit them in their core. I mean, I like playing music. If you guys like my music, great. I think we can be great friends if you like my music. But yeah, I mean, it's those times where it's somebody just feels it. And you know what? That just changes everything. Not that was a bad set by any means. No. That was a great show. We had a great time. We were still a new band. We were playing in Austin. We had like 6 songs. And we made very clear when people were booking us, we're going to do like a half-hour set. That's all we got. But we'll drive out to Austin if you want us. And yeah, there's times like that where people do one more song. Okay, we'll play the last one again, I guess. But again, it's surf. We could have played the whole set twice in a row. Nobody would have known. Right. It was the same set.
Like I said, only the wise would have known. Only the wise would have known.
Well, is there anything else you guys would like to add before we sign off? Anything where people can find you, hear your music, buy your music, get to know you a little bit better?
Joe is on, what are you on? What dating apps are you on? To know you better.
On drummersonly.com. Heavy metal drummersonly.com as well.
Yeah, we're both on social media. David Phantomatic,
I don't know what my handle is. But
J Ortiz SA.
Okay.
We're the Phantomatics on all social media platforms. We're on Facebook. I think the best place to keep up with us is going to be on our Instagram. I think that's where we have the biggest presence. And yeah, I mean, you can get the music on Bandcamp. The music's on iTunes, Apple Music, stream it on Apple Music, Spotify, all the big services. When the new EP comes out, it'll be available there. If you want to buy it, Bandcamp will definitely be the best place to get it from. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's now that my biggest time suck is coming to an end, I'm just very excited to get it up and going again. It's just like, it's that car that's been sitting in the garage and you just want to go turn it over. You just start it up every now and again, just make sure it's still running. And I'll dip into the Phantomatics Instagram on occasion, post something, just to let people know we're still here.
If I could say something too, now that we're starting to open up some more, go out and see some bands when you can, and you can do it safely. If not, buy some merch from some local groups, around in your town. There's a lot of musicians that were affected by this, and people don't realize that. People that depend, not only just the service industry, people that were maybe bars and then also had a band that would play at that bar. Those people took a hard hit. We've been very fortunate that we have regular day jobs, but if you can buy a shirt from one of your local bands, or pick up a CD or something that you can help out your local musicians and your local service industry folks, that goes a long way, especially right now. Let's get back into it safely, but in the meantime, support those folks however you can.
Absolutely.
If you guys go on tour, you guys got a big following on this release coming out. Come to Philadelphia. I want to see you.
Absolutely.
I don't think I'm welcome in Philadelphia.
We'll go to a Phillies game.
Yeah. We'll maybe Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Well, you just can't come during Eagles season.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm a Cowboys fan. I don't think I'm allowed in Philly.
Okay, no, yeah. I just won't take it.
I'll bring my star-shaped guitar.
Yeah, there you go.
But
all right, guys.
Sure. Great chatting with you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. It was a blast to hear your story and talk to you guys, and I thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to checking out some more of your podcasts.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You have a good night.